Hello and welcome back. The lighting is not great. This is my basement and you're only going to see this small section of it today. I'm coming back with a small experiment and I don't know what order I'm going in or how often I will have to pause for this. But someone was asking on a tie-dye group I'm in about containers for low immersion dyeing because all she's ever seen is quilt sizes, and quilt size fabrics and other large items. And I thought, what a neat idea to talk about the containers, because ideally, this is my biggest low immersion dye container right now. I may move up to a pickle jar. This is my next biggest, the canister, and I believe this is like a gallon and this is about 2 quarts. This is a little over 1 quart. If I look closely, I can find the ounces on this. It's just a coconut oil jar. Well, 55 tablespoons if anyone wants to do some math. 15 times 28 fluid ounces. There we go. So this is just under 1 quart. And will hold fat quarters, scraps, I'd say 5 masks. 3 maybe if you're doing them overdone. Because that's the thing they were asking about. Here's 2 other options. Here's a deli container with a lid. And I'm going to say this lid locks tight. You can transport liquid in here. I would still be very careful for where you set this. Here is a tiny, you guys know this container, I really want to get you drunk Jello shot container, in a 2-ounce container. I use this to mix my yarn dyes with, and I just happen to have a lot of them about. But I've used this for 4 to 6 inch swatches. It would be a really tight fit to fit a mask in there. But if you're doing a tiny swatch, that is what you would use. I would use this deli container available at Gordon Food Service, or probably, if you look closely, your local groceries, your local big box store maybe. Probably for a few bucks for 50 of them. Lids, a few bucks more. These though, 1/2 inch screw top. These are about $3 to $4 at big box stores that I don't love but sometimes have to use. And here's the key. I also have this in-between container, and I've used it frequently, 56 ounces, so that's double this size. And really, I'm going to have 2 concerns. I have lids for these, so that's what I'm using today. I might have a lid, that's for the mayo jar. Will it fit this? I haven't used the mayo jar yet. It could fit. It's not as tight as I like, but it does that job. So, I'm also really, really low on soda ash today. And some of these I'm going to try some fun stuff with, but some of these I'm just going to find a container that fits. And in each case, pretend I'm really wearing my mask. I don't know where my N95 went today. Thank you for not shouting out at me that it's somewhere. Yeah, it's probably on my other table where I do most of my mixing. And my soda ash stock is getting a bit low. Actually, we're going to just make this a little easier for me to work with. Remember that trick? That doesn't fit there. Oh, that's over here. So, this is not best practice. It cracked ring before playing in soda ash and dyeing. Tonight I'm going to risk it and rinse it well. So I'm going to scrap it and do another one later. Let's see what comes out of here first. Alright. I have basically cabbage. This is a white on white floral print scrap. These are coming straight out of the soda ash and going straight in the dye. This is a t-shirt that's actually oversized for me, so well, it won't be for sale. It may be gifted to someone that will fit it better. It's a cute little t-shirt. I want to be careful because turquoise gets everywhere. But good news, it's going in with the raspberry. Turquoise is in there. And then I'm going to pull out the piece de resistance. I have an old work dress shirt that's all white. And I said, what wonder? And here's my goal with this. That as I go along, this is going to be my darkest layer. Okay? And I'm just going to do this in the simplest way I know for this sort of thing. And then I'll switch this out because I am making a mess. I want the next layer of royal blue to go in. I believe that is my next darkest color. I'm aiming for an ombre technique here. I really should let this sit an entire 5 minutes and come back and reschedule. But those two, one of them is so diluted it won't matter. And one way I'm going to do this, although I don't want to take 5 full minutes of time, so you may have a short pause, but I'm just going to pour some in here and bring it up to where I want that level. Add some to the raspberry mix, add a little to the shiitake mix. Now, to the raspberry, don't want another color going in there. I'm just going to do a layered look on this too, because this is fuchsia. It was mixed a while ago and I'm not sure how strong. There may be a hint of raspberry in here too. Who knows? If I ran out of something, I probably threw something more in there to mix with it. So we'll pour a little in there, and I'm going to have to go get a little more before I add turquoise. And I may do weakened turquoise on the top, but that's done. And here's the beauty of low immersion dye. I have my item in the jar. It just fit in the jar. That is a key to the container size. And I'm just going to leave that there. And once I get my water over that level, and that's all the cabbage I have. Okay, I have another t-shirt, and I don't have a properly set up container. So I'm going to show you, this is too big. That's just not going to work. That is wet. That doesn't want to go. So I'm going to come over here. Mix up one more quick tablespoon of soda ash. And I will show you why I'm not worried about how much I get in there. One, I have hard water already. I don't want a pH higher than 12. Should do the mayo jar, but this is being used, so there's that. This is peach already. Let's see. I can't tell. I think this is a burgundy. It's a reddish tone. We're going to find out later. So I'm going to put it in and have some fun. Oh shoot, and guess what, you guys? Let's hope I didn't get... I will let you know when I wash these out later this week. Oh goodness. See, that's also... yes. And now, before I continue, I just put that in a container to be washed off. So, peach and burgundy. We may top it off with a little emerald green. Actually, I'm not going to. I'm going to find something else to put in there for the top. That looks like it was a different color. I got more water, and I just refill these. These are just, yes, I buy drinking water. Currently, I'm moving to a filter for a cheaper option. This is just tap water out of the sink. And I did 3 things. I lied. This is a half cup of soda ash water because I'm going to do a little more. I have these tote bags. You guys, when it was mentioned that nothing had been seen being done small, let's show you if we can go a little smaller. This is just a 12-inch by 12-inch tote bag, available on Grateful Dyes for a couple of bucks. Pretty simple stuff. So I'm going to focus on this shirt first. I have royal blue going in there, darkened and darker, hopefully. And then I'm going to put in the turquoise. I am going to hit some of these. One of them I may be going solely for a tonal look. And I am going to get the color on this. There we go. It's about gone. So what's there is there. And just to be sure, pH matters, and I like to be sure. I could push this down a little and get it in there. And again, I'm being very careful here because I pushed this into another color. And that color will seep into, it's coming off raspberry already. So if I'm not careful with that, I will push that raspberry into here. And I don't actually want raspberry in there today. So again, this is just a marker bin. It can be used for low immersion dye if I need to. So that's about ready. I am out of these, but I'm going to have a little fun with that. And this, I'm just going to pour. Again, I want the item covered, but it's not fully covered, so I'm going to make sure it's up to the top. There we go. tighten it up. I'm going to leave this here. Both of these will be sitting here for 30 minutes at least, probably till my morning, your afternoon. And I'm going to wipe up these few little messes here. This is a wet area and my dyes are everywhere. I do have some turquoise marks on these, but this one looks fun. And for this one, actually, I'm not going to do a fold on it. I'm going to find that shiitake, and I'm going in. And we're going to, you see how that rose up? I'm going to push this down and shove it in, and we're going to maximize, hopefully, that space, and I hope I didn't add too much water. I will top off in a moment with a little soda ash. Then I have to mix more down here, but that's okay. So that container is done. Where'd my rag go? There we are. All right. Again, that will sit right there. This one's pretty much over the top, and I don't remember what I put in the top, so we're going to wait on that. Now I'm going to come over here, and I've really been waiting to see this color for a while, so this one's going to get dark brown in the bottom. I am just eyeballing these squirts. You can measure if you want. In one of the ice dyeing classes I did, we used a syringe. And one, we had fun, and it gave us good control over the dye. The other factor with a syringe is that you can control exactly how much you put in there. If you get a 60 milliliter syringe, which is what I would recommend. I forgot to bring down my new sinew. And I'm not going to do that big of a tie with this. In fact, I'm going to go far simpler on this. So one color, and we're going to just lay it out. I can't decide what I want to do, guys. You ever have that problem? I don't do spirals much or well. And I usually pleat and twist on these, so I want to break these out and keep it as flat as possible, I'm told. And it's not going. So we're going to do a true low immersion dye spiral. Who knows what we'll get. I just don't have a good workspace right now. Nope, not working for me. Okay. Let's go for the standard. Here it goes. I am just going to pleat this up. I don't think I'm sure, yes, I have kite string down here. Okay. So, as long as we don't stop recording, because I was not a good girl, I did not charge my battery in the hour before I decided to do this. I am not doing this to draw any lines or apply any dye in a certain spot. I am not going to be that specific. I'm doing this to make it smaller to fit in there with certain folds, so you can see how something smaller does. If you want to fold it up, you can, because there are times I've done some really neat effects with square folds. And if I have room, after I trim this off as safely as I can, I was putting together shelves, and I just, remember how I said don't underestimate turquoise? It gets everywhere. There it goes. Forgive the lighting, I did forget. I might want to do something more like that. But I'm going to tuck this in, tie it down, and we're going to see how much we can fit in here, because I can either get another container, and I'm just going to have it folded and shove. And maybe pour a little. And just, you know, I can't do one color, guys. I know I can't. As much as maybe I have to. I had a dark green over here. Can I see it? Yes. Right here, we're going to use some of this up. Dark green and dark brown together. Let's see how they look when we're done. And that one, I think is ready. You know what I can do? Fuchsia. I see it now. And I'm not going to stress this. I just told you about square folds. So I'm going to fold this up. In fact, we're going to do the square fold right. Let me adjust this down just a little. So this is going to get covered. It's done. Cover some more water in there. Keep it on an even keel. I'm going everywhere. I'm going to cover that Okay, so I'm going to risk getting dye on this. Alright. I overloaded the water on that, so it's making a mess. I am good at making a mess, if nobody's noticed. Alright. So I'm going to fold this. This bag looks easiest in thirds. And then I'm going to fold it back over. And then, sides are good. You want these extra sides. If I folded this anymore, I would make sure to have everything folded outside. I do not do airplane folds where you wrap it in. That's more like a burrito, and if I'm going to do an airplane fold, it is all edges are exposed. That is my preference. That was what I was taught by Cindy Lobeck of Immersion Dyeing. But here is, and I just, literally guys, you can fold in half and fold back. But the more sides you have exposed, the more color you're going to get everywhere. Fold over. Stack these right on top. They're already absorbing color. And I'm not even going to, actually I am going to worry about it. Because if I don't tie this, it will not hold shape in that container. We tie to hold shape. Hi Scamp, how are you? This is my kitten Scamp. She is a massive helper of tie-dye and taking over the show here. Scoop, I need you to step away. I need to show this tied. So I just wrapped it around a couple times with kite string. I am going to pull a little bit off at 6 inches. Scamp may just sit on the edge and help us out. You need love, and I see that. I am going to tuck this under, and here's what I'm doing. Instead of, I could get one more deli container. I have a tight paper towel used for dye probably. Nothing major. This is looking black. It's got red on it. That's weird. But it's very possible. And now, you know what? We're just going to pop in a little more fuchsia. Hope for the best and have some fun with it. I think that's what I put in before. And I really do hope that. Part of me is wondering if that's fuchsia or if that is fuchsia mixed with raspberry. Okay. So we'll have a little fun. We'll see what we get. And at worst, I hate it and somebody will find to love it. So that is today's cram jar dyeing techniques. There's the lid. I am not going to shove anything small enough in here. These are great little helpers. But today, I don't have anything quite that small. I don't think you could get away with putting a single mask in here. I think a 6-inch swatch of fabric would be your biggest. So if you need to do a bunch of swatches, these are great. I will consider that for doing a batch time experiment. Probably with liquid dye. As low immersion dye, you can get away with 12 hours. But this will likely take me till later this week to go through it and do it all. I may top off with a little soda ash in each of these, which is something I meant to do. But I don't know if there's much room for soda ash in them. And since there isn't, I know there's no room for soda ash in that one, but I had plenty to start. And I'm scooping out the bottom of my bucket because I've got another bucket upstairs. So 1/4 to 1/2 cup top off. Again, your pH is what matters in the end, and I have plenty of pH going in. So do another 1/4 to 1/2 cup, and really with a cup per gallon of water, I probably have more than enough. I will say this, I think I've mentioned it before, Paula Birch's site mentions that topping off with soda ash is what makes it low immersion dye. And if you're doing a pan style and you do it that way, yes it does. But if I would not have topped off with soda ash, if I'd have just dropped a pH test strip in there and saw it was 10.5 to 11, I would have been golden. You don't eat, adding it at the bottom is enough. It will mix with your water as you go. Put that in there to get more color on it because I'll have to take that upstairs and rinse it. And for now, we're going to take a short break, and I will come back and chat with you about the rinse outs. Thank you. Welcome back. We're still here. It has no time has really elapsed. I remembered one more thing about a container. I'm not drinking this water. This was poured into another mixture. I am going to say, do you notice these all have wide mouths? Every one of them has a wide mouth. This is a narrow mouth. The mouth of the jar is smaller than the jar itself, the container. This would be considered a wide mouth. This is a narrow mouth. This is a very narrow mouth. That being said, so this is wide mouth, this is wide mouth, these are wide mouth, these are wide mouth. One reason for that, it's easier to shove a cloth into these. How many of you like washing these out? How many of you, when you wash these out, throw in some dish soap and some salt and shake it up and call it good? Because you are not going to try to shove a whole, that'd be quite funny. I don't think I have a quite empty one over here. I have a daffodil one, that's my least dangerous. So if I open this up and I try to shove something in that opening, I'm not getting anything in there. So this is all about size. Size does matter in the world of tie-dye. Trust me, and I'm hearing 2XLs are the most common. This, again, narrow mouth. You're not going to shove anything in here. I will be honest. With these, I could do double duty. I could fill this up a third of the way with dye, put in another 6 to 8 ounces of water, and find a cap. I do not have caps for these, but I could steal a tulip cap and put it on there, and I'm already getting dye covered in this. In order to cover it up, and I would be able to fit a mask or two in this container if that was what I had. Sometimes you have to work with a budget. I will say this, if you can talk someone in your life into buying you coconut oil, and I'm risking moving it before the 15 minutes is up. So these are going to sit here. They are going to wait a little bit. Tomorrow afternoon I will move them up to a warmer spot, let them batch in a warm spot for a couple of days. Hope they don't get in the way of my shower too much. And later this week we'll see what we rinse out and wash off. Again, please, if you like and share and subscribe my videos, and while they're not monetized yet, one day I hope they will be, either rather on this format or a better one. Then, yes, and I am seeking better video outlets at this time due to the mid-roll ads that are going to be difficult. I don't have control over ads yet. And when I do, I'll tell you, I won't want mid-roll ads running through. Please watch them before and after. It's coffee break, potty break, whatever you need to do, or mute it while you finish up another video and then come back to it and rewind if you need. Do what you need to do, but please help support my channel. Like, share, and subscribe is greatly appreciated. Have a good day. Hello, welcome to another video. We're going to do a little bit about containers. And disclaimer, I've already shot the video, so I have an idea of the outcome. And I'm just going to show you a couple of ideas. I picked an odd-shaped fabric. In fact, this is what quilters would call likely a 1/4 yard. I'm not sure it's a full 44 inches. It's a scrap. So, we're going to talk about containers. In my video, I use all plastic containers. In fact, this would not likely be used unless I'm feeling adventurous, don't care, and am wanting to get in here and try to go in with 2 fingers. That's really hard. If I put this fabric in here, I can guarantee you it's going to be really hard to pull out. Looks easy because I didn't shove it in here, but one, it's hard to get in. 2, you don't have any control over where the water and liquid goes, and the lemonade is going to go everywhere because this one hasn't been washed. So probably not my favorite container for low immersion dye. This one, in a pinch. It will fit in many small fabrics. It's cheap, it's easy to get. Probably fit 3 to 5 masks in here. Important note, tight-fitting lid works well. You can put some soda ash, water, and such. I'll show you that short in the video to come. You do have this risk that your fabric gets caught up in this lid. Not my favorite container. I'm doing a set of clothesline in it that I actually totally forgot that I had going on down here. So just to show you some of the joys of this, it's working. It was in a pinch. It was my last container available at the time. And this clothesline is in here ready to come out. We'll do a short reveal maybe on this video, maybe on another one. These are my favorite containers to use. And I have a slightly bigger one, which you will see in the video. The cool part is they have a 1/2 inch screw top lid. Of any container you use, the wide mouth and the 1/2 inch screw top lid, 2 rings at least, yeah, 3's better if you can get them. Shove, pour, and side note, this is not my favorite one to show you this. If I had only this container and only this container left, I would put a 1/2 inch of soda ash in the bottom. Probably about a 1/2 cup to a cup, depending. And your soda ash and dye ratios are going to change depending on the size. This is 16 ounces, so you want enough dye to cover 16 ounces in whatever amount of fabric you can fit in here. And really, pound of fabric matters, but dye strength also matters. So if I put in 2 ounces of dye into this container, I'm going to have a 2 to 16 ounce ratio And for those of you who are metric, 30 milliliters to 240 milliliters, it is a 1:8 ratio. If I put in 1.5 ounces of dye and put in 15 ounces, we'd have a 1:10 ratio. That would be a lighter looking thing than the 1:8, 1 part for every 8 parts. If I put in 2 ounces of dye into this, and they tell me, so I always have a hard time looking for the weight on this, and it doesn't tell me how many. 56 ounces, so this is bigger. 16, 50, 28 ounces, okay. Your 1 tablespoon is half an ounce, okay, 56 servings, so 28 ounces. So if I put 2 ounces of dye in here, I'm going to have a 1:14 ratio. I would put 3.5 to 4 ounces of dye, and you will see that in the video where, in this one, I only need to squirt the dye once. And here, I only need to squirt it 2 or 3 times. Hi, Tink, how are you? And my cat Tink is going to come inspect our work and see if she approves. And I will have more of these. This one is, I believe, I know it's bigger than this. I wanted to say it was a quart. It might be a 2 quart. So it's probably 64 ounces because there's a lot more diameter. In fact, I'm going to play. I can fit it inside there. Guess what? I was 64 ounces here, or close to it. So, to keep if I put 2 ounces of dye in here, I am going to have a 1:32 ratio. I am going to have really, really light dye. The solution, you get to layer more colors on this. On this one, I'd do 3 colors at most. On this one, I can do 4 colors for low immersion dye. If you do 4 colors, you may want to go purple, blue, green, then something else with those colors in it, or another purple or another blue. If you want more of a rainbow effect. And I really wouldn't do more than 3 colors often. You could do purple, blue, green, and then pink or yellow, depending on what you were looking for. But if you put the yellow in there, you are risking brown. If you put the pink in there, you are risking just making everything more purple and darker, and probably moving towards a little bit of black. Now, don't do it because you want black in there. If you want black, make sure black. I love Raven from Dharma. I'm going to probably try Better Black very soon. I can't promise it'll be very soon. Put it in the bottom and work up. Dye strength does matter. That's part of this container size, is keeping your dye ratios. So for 32 versus 64 ounces, and pretend this is 32 ounces there. 1:16 ratio, 1:32. So if you put in more dye, you're going to have a bigger ratio. If you put in 4 ounces of dye, you're going to have a 1:8 ratio again, and these two would then be close to the same, because we don't know exacts unless you go out and get the medical syringe and measure exactly to the milliliter. You can't do that, and if you want to be precise, you can. Also, this fabric, look at that. Look at how easy that comes out, and this is not what I dyed. I will show you that at the actual video part. Now this fabric only fits in here. I don't need a container this big. So what do? If this is the only container I have, and I only need to dye this fabric today. Find more fabric, that's an option. I can dye some towels. Or, maybe I only have 2 total ounces of dye. So I go get this container, I put in a 1/2 cup or a cup of soda ash in the bottom, depending on how much dye water I'm using, and what my pH is needed for. And I put in a little bit of soda ash water, and then I put in dye, and then I put in water to cover. I can top it off with a little soda ash water if I want, or I don't have to. Paula Birch states on her website that she adds soda ash at the end, and that's what makes it low immersion dyeing. That is only partly true. You have the option always to add soda ash at the end. It is never wrong to add a little soda ash on top. What makes it low immersion dyeing is that it's in a container, it's in water, a low amount of water, and it's just immersed fully in the water. And it stays there. In fact, we're going to move these out of the way now and pretend this is a blanket. Huge. Not a blanket. We'll say an oversized man's shirt or something that's not going to fit in one of these containers. And I don't have my 64-ounce one. But you'll see me do the dress shirt in that. I've dyed 2 yards of linen fabric in that, and this was actually something that brought about the video, was a comment on a Facebook post about everybody doing low immersion dyes, they only have quilting pieces. I could rip this into make 4 masks, and I could drop 4 masks in any one of these containers. I could get away with putting it in here, because the masks have loops, or in the end, if you decide you don't care, you turn it upside down, pull out your water, then pull out your container. In a pinch, this will work. However, this will work too, and I would just lay my fabric in. I'm going to get two things. I am going to get different dye dispersion because it's long and rectangular. It's also shallow. It does come with a lid that I didn't happen to bring down, but it's a snap-tight lid. So it's similar to this one. And there is an inherent risk in these, and that when you tip it like this, it could leak out. The screw tops will not leak. I like to use food-grade containers for that, or reuse them, because then I'm certain. Now, one thing I haven't touched on, ye old mason jar. Great tool, non-reactive. Gonna do what you need it to do, because I will tell you some of my plastic jars are getting blue stains in the bottom. And I have to wash them really well right now, which means lots of soaking and dishwashing, and one of my least favorite things is dishwashing. Why do I have all plastic when I could just use up the mason jars that I have floating around here? Because I actually can things and use mason jars for food. These do come with a handy 1/2-inch ring. They do come with this lid. They can be sealed. You don't necessarily want to go to the work of sealing a canning jar for this. You don't need to, and you really don't want to get into the habit while you use low immersion. You don't need as high a temp as you think. You do not have to boil anything to make any of these work. If you are doing cotton fibers with this, you only need 105 to 120 degrees Fahrenheit to do a low immersion dye. Some people go up to 140. It's not necessary. For wool soaks and proteins fibers with acid dyeing in a low immersion bath, I do it on my stove because it uses citric acid, vinegar, and acid dyes. Citric acid or vinegar, excuse me. And I only go up to 150 to 175, and it depends on the wool. I just did a bristle the other day, which is a lot of organic hemp and wool, and it really, at over 150, it started to get felty on me, and it's grabby yarn now because I probably overprocessed it. So a lower temperature would have been better on that, and that's a learning experience. I do not use this for one reason. I have a really, really handy logical guide coming around, and I'm gonna, if I use the mason jars, first of all, anything you use for dye really should be clearly marked that it is for dye only. Because I buy Gordon condiment jars for my dyes. I should be wearing gloves to handle these even. Not because it's dangerous, but because it's gonna get messy. I'm yellow now. Or daffodil, but I wanted to shake up the sediment that was setting. I have to use this up soon. You can see my dye splotches. These are Gordon food service containers. See that 1/2-inch screw top lid? I love it. Nothing leaks out of here except through the tip that I don't want to. These are also the Mr. Tie-Dye Amazon metal needle jars. They are found on Amazon in packs of 16. It sounds like a lot, but it's less time in between washings and more to wash. So why do I not use this? Because my ever so logical man comes around, and if I've used a jar for dye and I got it really clean, there's still a chance there's tiny particles of metal, minerals, and chemical components that make up dyes and soda ash. These are not healthy to eat or ingest or breathe. So these are no longer food safe. But even if I mark it clearly, will he see the marking? And when he does, will he listen? So it's just easier for me. I can, so these stay. Now, if you've got someone who's going to come along and use this container for pasta for your lunch every day, or for their lunch, and you don't want them to ingest it, don't use these containers. Find 1/2-inch lid screw top containers they will not use. Mark them for your dye. And sometimes you have to use what you have and just mark it clearly. A permanent marker will do it. And in fact, I don't think I have a permanent marker around here. But honestly, and don't mark the bottom. No one looks on the bottom. Pretend this is a Sharpie. You write dye water, and you just keep reapplying that every time. So, yeah. I'm going to write dye stock on this one in large block. Welcome back to the reveal for Give the Titan Space. I'll try to focus a little more on just the items. Alright, this was the first, one of the smaller containers that I had ready. And this was the shiitake dye in low immersion. I'm going to admit these dyes have just been stored open air in my basement for about a week. I do sometimes, on these wet on white prints, I do sometimes like the backs better than the fronts. These still came out pretty neat. I'm probably going to over dye them because I don't know how to do light fabrics. And yes, these were folded together and cut. Something was cut out. They'll just be used as accent pieces in a quilt or on something that I'm sewing up recently. I think this was the shiitake. If you look closely, there are splits as I go over this. It's really, excuse the shadows, there we go. It's really difficult to tell sometimes. I do like that the strap has a bit of green and purple. I'm probably going to over dye this. I don't do ecru or tan much. In fact, I've got a pair of khakis about this color that I'm going to dye soon. I don't know if I'm doing the low immersion dye. Now, I want to pull this up, and I'm going to adjust this. Excuse the mess behind this camera. I'm going to aim it more at the wall. This is the raspberry, I believe. One of the raspberry ones. There's one sleeve. There's the other. Turn her around. And you can see how the back came out. Hopefully it's revealing what I want it to. Never sure where to photograph with this thing. I'm going to bring it back and set it down so we know what angle we're at. Excuse Dusty or Busty. She is going to step off the stage and put on a different shirt. This bag was tucked in with one of these bright pink shirts, and I'm going to let you peek at that a little closer while she gets a change done. And the next change will be a little simpler because that shirt is button up, and we'll just drape over and cover all that we need to, except I will have to step off camera to get it. So there's the front side of this with the straps. Hopefully you enjoyed that view. Here's the back side view. You'll notice there are just a few spots that are a little darker than the others. I'll move those out of the way. Sneak this over. And I think she's going to hold the bag for you. And my dear Scamp may come join us, but right now she's a little concerned about the outcome of this situation. So, Busty's a little more, slightly more modestly dressed this time, but still in need of some covering. Yes. And I'm going to do the same thing as before. We'll do a front view and then I'll turn her around. If she were wearing a bra, yes, it would be exposed. So we've answered that question. And there is, excuse me, some of that view. I do like that it has a model. I may have to do this more outside. And here is some of that back view. I believe this was the one I did with raspberry. And I did the pink bags. I have another pink bag I will show you for the next costume change. We're going to peek at this one real quick while I set that stage back up. Hopefully I'm close to where I want to be. Excuse the mess. I'm still cleaning out this basement. Making it more tie-dye friendly, more comfortable. Oh, you know what? I'm going to move on and do the green and brown. This was the dark green and brown. Again, this is low immersion dye, and some of this is dye strength. I did use probably week-old dyes for this. And so that is the dark green and brown on one side. And it's still dark green and brown. I do like how it came out. It looks nice. It's a weekend dye, however. And it's going to come out just a little less strong than if I were to use it that day that I mixed up the dye. Or add a stronger dye strength. Same here with the next reveal. This is the piece de resistance. I'm hoping I got everything in here. I don't feel as if it was a guarantee. But, well, Dusty Busty, because she was a little dusty when I got her, will be slightly more appropriately dressed this time. Although, hopefully, makes you guys want a new shirt. And I will give a little history of this shirt. It's actually a former work shirt for a job I do not wish to do any longer. I'm not going to button all parts. We know Busty wouldn't. And I'm going to put it up where you can see her. I'll lean it back. So she's going to relax and lounge. And bring it over here. This was the Ombre effect shirt that I did in the low immersion dye. This was the top portion. Excuse the reach. There we go. And I'm going to have to bring you down to these so you can see the gradations. And I'm not sure what we put on her shirt from laundry to here. But there are certain ombre effect gradations. And this one I did have, again, I used week-old dyes. And I went for a simple, subtle effect on this. I really actually wanted it to come out this way. And My only disappointment is that upper left shoulder, but it's not really a disappointment. In low immersion dye, this is exactly what you're looking for. And I did have a little fun. I'm going to bring up this sleeve. I do almost wish she had arms. This little darkened blue cuff is just really cute compared with this slightly darkened. So these must have made their way down to a spot to sit and pool. I do like the effects. It's very subtle. That's what I was going for. I was suggesting to a friend I could create a shirt like this. And here's the reveal on it. And tomorrow I will hopefully get outside and get some pictures of it in the early afternoon. Hopefully it's a beautiful sunny or cloudy day actually. And I'm really pleased with how this came out. This is an old work shirt of mine. I have worn it, and now I feel as if I will want to wear it again. It was just a plain white dress shirt. And I would just put it in there. And I put my squirt on. All I would do with this is fill the water to about halfway. Fill to about here, you want it to just cover your material. With the shirt, I put a little more water in because it was such a lightweight cotton that it kept floating up to the top. But I could dye this tote bag in this container and just fill my water to where my finger is. Put the lid on. Leave it and go. Also, people have been asking about subtle variations. Excuse my freshly showered hair. People have been doing ice dye, and I don't have a lot of experience with ice dye, but I do have a little experience. Low immersion dye essentially creates a muck, and they say don't mess with the muck. That is partly true. The first 15 minutes, according to Carol Ann Johnston, in the book Color by, I think it's Color by Accident, I will check. She says for the effects that we got here, these effects, you don't move that container. Nothing was moved in here. That's how we got those. That's how we got that uneven color. It is possible that I agitated this a little bit when I was doing it at the bottom because I've got slightly more even colors and less striations. So for the first 15 minutes, if you want even, smooth color, you agitate the crap out of that container. And after that, you pretty much can move it around. With my low immersion dyes in the muck, these go. You can see these cement wells. They do not stay down here. It is only 65 degrees down here, tops. Now, later I will probably get a space heater in here and set it up so I can keep my dye batching downstairs. But right now, I move them up in front of a bathroom heater. So they go in a container up a flight of stairs and around a kitchen in a tight, narrow walkway into my bathroom and sit next to the shower for 2 days. Technically with these, I could get away with less, but I love these splits, and I just like making sure my colors develop as much as they possibly can. So I do go for the 48 hours still. But just for future reference, if you've bumped your muck with your hip or something, you're going to be fine. If you totally dumped it, you may get some spots where you don't want it. But honestly, I don't have much that, you know, say it was a subtle day. She had to be, you know, business casual for some kind of business meeting. Nobody messed with this muck. But they would have to mess with it for 15 solid minutes to get those even middle colors. And you have to agitate it almost the entire time. So you're stirring for 15 minutes. And at that point, you're probably going to get some kind of a metal rocking machine. Or like a rocker, you can just sit there and nudge with your foot while you're sitting down. Or something, because your arms are going to get pretty tired going at this. Here, maybe this is a little better view. Going at this for about 15 minutes. It's too messy and my hair is not done. Alright guys, welcome back. I just wanted to show you that promised model video of me in this shirt. Here's the cuffs. It's also slightly better lighting. I've got to show these cuffs. They're just fun. They don't go perfectly, and I'm kicking around the idea as I sit in this shirt of over-dyeing it in some raspberry, because we know I like raspberry. But it's cold out, and I didn't check a mirror before I started this video, but that's me. So this was enjoyable. I do hope to find something else to low immersion dye for you shortly. And we will get this done shortly, and my life's going to turn crazy in the next 2 weeks. I may get one more video out that I don't love, but We'll see about starting another one when my life settles down a little more or closer to January, because Christmas week will be crazy too. Christmas and New Year's is a heavy work week for me. But in the meantime, here's the shirt on a real-life dressed model. Promise I'm wearing jeans under this. And here's my neighborhood. What the heck? Just have a little fun showing this off a bit. So I do have to go run errands and take care of other things. And please feel free to like, share, and subscribe to this video if you've enjoyed the content.